Hi, I'm Zibby Owens, and you're listening to Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. This episode has been sponsored by Bookhampton. As the premier independent bookstore in the Hamptons, Bookhampton has a highly curated selection of books for readers of all ages, unique one-of-a-kind gifts, and exciting author events. Browse their fabulous staff suggestions online at bookhampton.com. I'm thrilled to be interviewing Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen today on their publication day of An Anonymous Girl. Greer is the co-author of An Anonymous Girl and The Wife Between Us, both of which she wrote with Sarah Pekkanen. Formerly an editor at Simon Schuster for 20 years, Greer has written for the New York Times, Allure, Publishers Weekly, and other publications. She received her master's degree in journalism from Columbia University. Greer lives in Manhattan with her husband and 2 children. Sarah Pekkanen is not only the co-author of An Anonymous Girl and The Wife Between Us with Greer Hendricks, but she has written 8 other novels, 7 of which Greer edited. A former Capitol Hill journalist, Baltimore Sun reporter, Bethesda magazine contributor, and on-air correspondent at E! Entertainment Network, Sarah lives with her 3 sons in a suburb of Washington, D.C. Okay, welcome to Greer and Sarah. Thank you both so much for coming on Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books.
Thank you so much for having us. We're super excited to be on here.
So Greer is here with me, and Sarah is on the phone, right, Sarah?
Yes, in a car on the way to New York.
Awesome. So can the two of you tell listeners what your latest book, An Anonymous Girl, is about?
Sure. I think I'm going to do a little more of the heavy lifting and talking just because I'm sitting here nestled next to you. So Anonymous Girl is the story of Jessica Ferris, who's a makeup artist in her late 20s in New York City, kind of struggling to make it as a lot of young women are. And she hears about this psychology study that's being offered at NYU. And she sneaks into it thinking she'll make some easy cash and it'll be kind of like a Myers-Briggs, answer a few questions. And then she walks into NYU and she sits down in front of this computer screen and these questions start to creep across the screen. And it seems as if the psychiatrist conducting the study knows what she's thinking and knows what she's hiding. But she gets lured into this study and then the psychiatrist says to her, would you like to take it to the next level and do some real life morality and ethics experiments? And then it kind of goes from there. And that's when Sarah and I usually say, bum, bum, bum. So,
how did you guys come up with this idea?
So, on the heels of our first book, The Wife Between Us, it was really important to us that we have a follow-up that was as strong. And so we spent really months talking about what we wanted to write about. And some of the key elements that we knew, we wanted there to be a real immediacy to the story, which is why we chose to write sections of it in the second person. And we felt, hopefully, people will agree, brings in the reader, and that you feel that you're answering the morality and ethics questions that Jessica is answering as well. So that was one thing. We had both studied psychology, and so we have a deep interest in that. And so some of the really fun parts of the book were sort of researching those psychology experiments and psychological theories behind it. Yeah, I would say those are like basically the 2 key elements that we wanted to explore. We wanted the book to be basically same, better, different. It's not a follow-up to the last book, but if you've read both, you know that there's kind of that similar like page-turning quality and, relatable female protagonist sort of in distress and conquering things.
That's awesome. I loved the second person element to it.
Oh, good. Yeah, I just add to what Greer said. I think, when it comes to our ideas, what we really do is, as Greer said, like we spend months talking for hours every single day. We're sending each other newspaper articles, clippings, photographs of, somebody saying, does this look like, our main character? Does this look like Jessica or Dr. Shields? So we spend those months talking every single day for hours and hours. And, we generally just amass sort of a big file of the ideas we want to incorporate into the book. And then we go, we outline some characters, we talk more about the plot, but it really is a very slow building process.
Yeah, our favorite two words are what if? What if this? What if that? And then we do egg each other on a bit when you say, Sarah, like the crazier the better. I'm like, oh, I got chills. That's good. And then let's add to that crazy subplot. So
Absolutely.
So how did you two first meet? How did you meet and then how did you end up working together?
So prior to becoming a writer, I was a book editor for 20 years at Simon & Schuster. And one day, a literary agent, Victoria Sanders, sent me a debut by a woman named Sarah Pekkanen. And I read it in one sitting and I loved it. I was at a point in my career where I was looking for, like I joked, like marriage is not one night stands. I wanted long-term relationships with my authors. And so Victoria brought Sarah around because I wasn't the only editor in town who was interested in her book. And Sarah and I immediately hit it off and I persevered and acquired her debut. And we worked together as an author-editor team for 7 books, right, Sarah?
Yep.
And then I decided to leave corporate publishing. I just wanted to try something new. And in the back of my mind, I wanted to write, but I wasn't really telling anybody. But over our time together, Sarah and I had discovered we had a number of uncanny similarities. So we both had studied psychology and journalism. We both had played field hockey in high school. We were both terrible cooks. We both have brothers that we're really close to who are both named Robert. So we had just developed a friendship that I was close with a lot of my authors, but what Sarah and I had was really special. So I confessed my secret to her that I wanted to write. And Sarah, what did you say?
I said, hey, let's write a book together. It was a totally spontaneous, impulsive thought. But, from my background, I had done everything from wire service reporting to newspaper writing to magazine writing to short stories to novels. I had been playing around with screenplays in my spare time. And, I loved Greer. I loved working with her. And I didn't want to lose our collaborative relationship or our friendship. And I was also eager to do something a little bit different. So the timing, I think, it just worked out beautifully for both of us.
Yeah. So at first I paused because I thought, why does she want to write a book with me? She's written, all these books on her own. And I had this idea that maybe I should try to do this alone. And then I thought, this is crazy. I've written a couple of articles. I've edited hundreds of books, but I've never written a book. I have no idea what I'm doing. This could be like a masterclass in learning how to write. So
and I felt like I was the lucky one getting to work with Greer. So that's it.
It's like a really great marriage. We're kind of sick together. Oh, wait, I've got to show Zibby. I'm showing Zibby our necklace. Sorry, people who can't see this online, but I had these made for us. The first one represents the first book colors.
Oh my
And then
gosh.
there's a second book, and it's our forever friendship, and that I'm never letting her go. So,
Yeah, these Greer surprised me with this necklace. It's a gold chain, and there's a circle that's gold, and that represents, the circle of, forever friendship. And then there's a little blue stone in the circle that matches the cover of The Wife Between Us. And a few weeks ago, she gave me another beautiful gold circle with a red stone that matches the cover, an anonymous girl.
Oh, that's so
Yeah,
great. I
sweet.
can't wait to see, over the years, this necklace will become so heavy, your neck won't be able to.
that's the dream from your mouth, from your mouth. So,
That's what we want.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But so basically I said yes. And then the question for Sarah and I was, well, what are we going to write? And like Sarah said, she'd been writing more like women's fiction, for lack of a better word. And that's primarily what I edited. But what we did was we both went to our bookshelves and we took down all of our favorite books from the past few years. And Sarah's in DC and I'm here in New York. And there was a lot of overlap and certain themes emerged. And we realized most of the books that we really liked, they were psychological in nature, with strong female protagonists. And we pretty early on figured that we wanted to write a psychological thriller. And then the question for us became, well, how are we going to do this? And we really hadn't thought about the logistics, which I think was actually a good thing because we may have, or maybe I might have gotten a little nervous about how are we going to do this. But we decided our first meeting was in New York City and we wrote these 15, 20 horrible pages side by side. I mean, they're so bad. We found them last year and we thought they were brilliant, but they were really bad. But we knew we couldn't sit side by side every day because of our, geographical distance. So my daughter, who was, I think, 13 at the time, said, hey, Mom, there's this newfangled technology called, Google Docs and Google Hangout, which embarrassingly, we didn't really know much about. So she set us up. And so that's how Sarah and I work. So every day when our kids go off to school, Sarah has 3 boys and I have 2 kids. We sit down at our respective desks at around 9 o'clock and we work until 4. And what's particularly great about that is that there's an accountability. I think if I was alone in my apartment, I'd get up, I'd do some laundry, I'd have another cup of coffee, I'd go, I just would get really distracted. But when you're on the phone with someone, you can't check Facebook or Instagram or go, you're in it. And I think that's been has contributed to our productivity. Don't you think, Sarah?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and we work straight from 9 to 4. We, at this point, are pretty much eating lunch on the phone while we're working. I'll say I'll hear a crunch and say to Greer, "Oh, you're opening your seaweed. It's 11 o'clock. I know your schedule so well." But we also, in the off hours, we both get up super early. So that's when we go into the document individually and do little tweaks in suggested mode, word changes, maybe do a little bit of individual writing. But yeah, somehow it works out beautifully. And because we are both moms, working moms, as all moms are, we understand that occasionally, a kid's going to be homesick and we're going to have to work around that and take a 10-minute break. Well, you go tend to your sick kid or there's a dog barking in the background.
Hey, don't throw Cooper under the bus. That's my dog usually.
Well, now I have a dog who barks. Yeah. I used to have an old lab who was deaf and never barked. And now I have a little dog who's more of a barker. But yeah, I think it just works. All of our similarities just pay off. We really get, the other one on so many different levels. And I think there is 100% support that we both feel. And our writing is a very safe place where we say there are no bad ideas. And then we throw out 100 bad ideas and we laugh about them. But we're laughing together, it really is a rare thing, I think, what we have.
Except that I know when I'm going down a bad track, because here's Sarah, she'll say, uh-huh. And I'm like, that means yeah, okay. Well, maybe go into a different way.
And Greer gets really quiet. So I'm after she gets quiet, I'm like, hello, are you still there? She's like, I'm thinking. I'm like, okay, she's thinking good or bad, good or bad. It's Jeopardy, waiting for the answer.
But we also, the other thing we do continue to do is get together we used to meet in each other's cities for one night, and now we meet in Philly for 2 nights. And that's where we try to do a lot of our plotting or just, I don't know, at this point, writing, whatever it is that we're doing. And usually one person will bring giant Post-its and we whiteboard and stick them all over the walls. And this is where one of our differences comes out because Sarah likes it messy, like Carrie Matheson in Homeland. It's crazy person. People can't see, but I'm twirling my finger around my ears. And I'm going around straightening up behind her because I'm I can't concentrate like this, Sarah. So yeah, so that we try to do our plotting. And then Sarah, do you want to tell the story about your big mistake in the hotel? That was in DC.
Oh yeah, that we never have enough time. We could be working together for one day, for 5 days, whatever it is. We're always kind of working right up to the last minute. So Greer had come to DC. This was before our Philly trips when we would take turns visiting each other's cities for a night. And we had homelanded the walls, and I had it very messy. It was wonderful, all kinds of things all over the wall. And because we write psychological thrillers, there are some words up there knife or gun or whatever it was. I think there was a word I'm not going to.
You can't say it on this podcast.
It's a family show. But my job, because Greer was throwing things in her suitcase and racing to make her train, was to take down the Post-its. And I always photograph them, so I'll have a record of them if something happens. But we got distracted by something, who knows what, and the Post-its remained on the wall of Greer's hotel room. And, of course, she had checked in under a credit card, her real name. And I can only imagine when the poor cleaning lady came and saw this crazed, violent, weird homeland wall. But Greer's still allowed back into DC. They haven't banned her yet, so I think it's okay.
I was waiting for some arrest to happen.
No,
the security team.
That would happen in one of our books.
Yes,
but
exactly.
It didn't happen in real life, thank God. Not yet, anyway. I'm knocking on wood.
That's so funny. You guys are so lucky to have found each other for so many reasons. I mean, this is the friendship, the collaboration.
We are grateful for that every day, and we often get really mushy, and we do express a lot of gratitude for each other because at this point we're co-authors, but we're we're business partners as well because we are building a brand and we're very aware of that. And we're also deeply close friends. I mean, we say we start writing at 9, but the truth is on some days we just have to chat and catch up on things before we even start writing because there might be something, going on and it affects the writing process. Like if you're having an issue with one of your kids or, whatever the topic is, it affects the day. So it's important to let the other person sort of know your frame of mind. And, at this point, we really feel like we both don't have sisters. We feel like we're like sisters to each other. In fact, to the point where we don't look alike in person, but we're a little bit, I feel like we start to look alike, like pets and their owners or something. Or like my mom will look at pictures now and she'll do a double take and can't tell us apart at times, which is funny because I don't think anyone would have said that 5 years ago.
No, but I do think we look alike now. We always get the "Are you sisters?" And part of that is, for some bizarre reason, we show up wearing nearly identical outfits all the time.
Yeah.
When we were in Philly, we both had like a gray and black striped sweater and black pants on. We were wearing both like chunky, creamy turtlenecks the previous time in Philly. It's really strange.
Even for your trip, Sarah, when I said, this is what I'm going to wear to the launch and this is what I'm wearing to the TV thing. And you're like, of course, like she'd literally picked black leather pants and a flowered dress. Like the flowered dress especially. Like I owned one flowered dress.
Hilarious.
Wacky.
Wow. Yeah. Well, also, we should probably tell about the kind of, one more thing before I get to that. I wanted to just follow up. I mean, I think part of the reason that we do feel so grateful for what we have is that we started a whole new career at the age of 50. And I think it was such a big, scary leap for both of us. I mean, Greer, for you to leave corporate publishing, and yeah, I mean, you had a lot of, freelance editing jobs and consulting and things like that lined up. And I was still writing solo books. So we had like our kind of comfortable space, but we left that to take this big leap together and to try to write something new and do something kind of daring, and having each other to kind of hold hands with as we did that, and then having it really succeed beyond our wildest dreams. I think at this point in our life, we know this is just something we're intensely grateful for, and having the support of another woman who is a sister, I think just means so much to both of us.
Yeah, we say we're better together. In fact, Sarah got us T-shirts that do say better together because, Sarah at least had written some books on her own, but I'd never written. I could never have done this on my own. But I think there's a great magical chemistry between us, and I don't think it's that common. And our process is unlike any other writing duo I've heard of, because most co-authors, they either will write a chapter, send it to the other, and the other one revises it, or they'll each take a character. But we don't know anybody who is on the phone together all day, literally writing sentence after sentence together. It's unusual.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, Greer, you edited, the Nanny Diaries author for The Nanny Return, and, Liz and Lisa, who write, thrillers now too. And I think a lot of people have said to us, I couldn't do that. I'd kill her, and we're like, oh my God, it makes us closer. Yeah. Like we can't imagine not doing that.
Yeah. I think I would just sit there and I would write a sentence and I would just question myself, every day. Is this the right plot? Sometimes we just decide to make a decision. Is it the right decision or not? We just are weighing, there's someone to say, go for it, or like, yes. And so we can at least be, moving forward. And the other thing is if something's not working, if it's not working for one of us, then we both say it's not working, because if it's wrong for one person, it's probably wrong for other people out there. And it's really important to us that we're both really happy with, the plot twist, the ending, even word choices. I mean, we'll, deliberate, down to a specific word. What's the right way? So.
And are you doing the same thing? So you turned The Wife Between Us into a screenplay.
We're working on it right now.
You're working on it now. Okay.
Yeah. There's different writing tools for screenplays. So we were held back in the beginning because we couldn't write literally together and we don't know how to do it otherwise. But now we found this program, Writer Duet, and which enables us, it's not quite as seamless as Google Docs, but it enables us to work together. So we've written the first act of the screenplay and we got notes from the studio and they like it. They wanted some revisions, but are we allowed to say this, Sarah?
I think so. I think we can't name the names who have been recently attached, but I think we can say that, yeah.
Okay. So it's going well. It's fun. I mean, it's definitely even more of a challenge. If writing a book was a challenge for me, the screenplay is a whole other level. But this is where I think we've got such a great partnership because Sarah is adventurous isn't the right word. What's the right word?
Impulsive.
You're impulsive,
Instinctual.
all of those things. She's more, and I'm a little more cautious, and it's good to have.
Yeah, you're more analytical. You're more, but yeah, you're right. These are our differences, but they both work to kind of further, I think, what we're doing, right?
Hopefully. Seems like it. So far, so good.
I'm like running through in my mind, like, which friends can I now write a book with? Because it sounds like you need to have
so much more fun.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, pick a friend carefully.
Yeah.
Like I don't think I could do this with anybody other than Greer. I mean, but it is just so much more fun to share this with somebody. I mean, like we're touring this month. We're going to 14 cities, Greer,
Yeah.
and we're going to be together. And, we're going to go jogging around new cities and work on our next book together and have meals together and just kind of share in all of this. And so absolutely, yeah, find the perfect friend to do this with.
Yeah. And someone, I mean, and I think it's also someone that you have similar work styles. Like I think that's so key for us that I think someone else might, like if I was with someone who was working with someone who didn't have kids, they would never understand when I'm like, I have to leave early to take, Alex for a doctor's appointment or this. You have to have the same kind of, values and the same level, I would say, of ambition.
Yep.
Because if one person doesn't want whatever it is as much, I think that would be really, really frustrating.
Yeah.
But we just...
And the narrative instincts, too. Like,
Yeah.
we love the same
Yeah.
kind of books, and
Yeah.
we always have.
Yeah. I don't think either of us have a big ego. So there's never like this battle of like, I was right on this point or that. It's truly like this great marriage where we feel like one person's like we rise together. The better, the better
Yeah.
Sarah is, the better I am. And it's just a great partnership.
Well, and I think like you said earlier, I could never write this kind of book on my own. Absolutely. It takes both of our brains.
Oh my gosh.
But, we do feel like our brains are 1 and 1 equals 3. It's not just our combined, brains. Like we achieve more. I'm not sure. I'm a writer, not a math major, but I'm trying to explain that formula I just came up with.
I liked it.
I think it's better together. I think it all comes down to better together.
That's awesome. So now that you've achieved all of this together and both of your individual careers, do you have advice to other people starting out, either in anything else about choosing a collaborator carefully or elements to include in a book or anything sort of more philosophical about? I mean, you guys are such experts at this now.
Well, I would say in terms of what you choose to write, make sure it is something you really, really love and feel passionate about, because writing a book, you spend a lot of time. We go through those pages again and again and again. And so it can't just be like this idea that you think is going to sell. It has to be something you really want to dig in and spend however long it takes to write. And then for the co-author, I do think for a collaborator and any business partner, we had known each other. You might say, Sarah, it was impulsive, but we had known each other for 7 or 8 years by the time you proposed to me. So I think that it wasn't maybe as impulsive as we make it seem. So
Right.
What about you?
That's a good point. I mean, I think part of it, there's a little bit of an element of luck.
Yeah.
I think you need to do your research in terms of, I knew I wanted Greer as my editor when I was writing my debut novel. And I told my agent, please, submit it to Greer, which she had been planning to do anyway. And that was mainly because I didn't know Greer at all personally, but I knew the authors that she worked with, Jennifer Weiner and Lauren Weisberger and all of these amazing writers that I admired. So, I did my research, and the fact that we just happened to get along so well personally was I think, luck. But I would just say one thing in terms of writing, something that helped me tremendously and that, Greer and I are doing now with screenplays is to really break down a book you love. Take out index cards, break down every scene, have one card for every scene. It's when you kind of experience a book as a whole, you get swept up in the story, but if you can kind of break it down analytically and figure out how the author did it, I think that's something that has helped our writing and our plotting.
That's good advice.
That is good advice.
Okay,
And so what's coming up next for you guys?
So we're working on the screenplay, and then Anonymous Girl is going to be, knock on wood, made into a TV series, and we're attached to be executive producers. So
Excellent.
that's
amazing.
That's fun. And then we're working on book 3, which we can't even tell you the title because we don't have a title, or we have a bunch of bad titles, but we're working away, which will be another, psychological thriller, strong, relatable, female protagonist, page-turner qualities. So yeah, that's what we're doing. And we'll be on tour in January. Look at our websites, everyone out there. Go find us on tour so we can meet you.
So awesome.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. I'm just so rooting for the two of you.
Thank
I feel like
you.
you're like this ideal couple, ideal friendship. And it's so wonderful to see. It's really awesome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Of course.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming on. Take care.
Bye, Sarah.
Okay, bye. Bye, guys. See you soon.
This episode has been sponsored by Bookhampton, bookhampton.com. Thanks to Ryan and Steve at Texture Sound for the audio editing and mixing. Thanks for listening to Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books.